traveling.
He's always running around.
He's in Vail, I think.
Yeah.
Is he well?
Yeah.
Good.
But it's cold up there.
Yeah.
You had a little accident? No? Must have mixed up somebody else. All right,
His
good.
wife passed away.
Oh, maybe that's what I heard. Well, good. I'm glad I got my guys mixed up. Well, I just saw him at Christmas. He was Santa Claus. He was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to take over that role next year, Stacy. You got it going on.
And I crack up because his real estate goes down on the like,
I changed it.
Oh, did you?
Updated it in Flex. Yeah.
Oh, check it out.
Although it's when I was kind of clean cut beard.
So you fixed it and then promptly.
Yeah, when I can go.
You know, we're guys. We
Exactly.
gotta get bushy before we head to the barber. Sometimes I'll do some personal touch-ups at the bathroom sink just to buy myself an extra week or I'll be like, zzz,
Yeah.
that'll be fine. And my girlfriend's like, you didn't blend anything. I see a line where it's long and then it's just short. Like an idiot. I'm
I
like,
wish we could do that.
right?
I know.
Guys are like, ooh, your legs are a little stubby.
You girls got it. But I tell you what, we are very thankful for the extra work that you put in. We really, we do.
Suck
As
it up
men,
over there.
Speaking of that, well, man.
As long as we don't have to be somewhere in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you learn to adjust the math. If she
Good
says,
morning, Erica.
if she says, when do we have to be at the airport? You have to add 20 minutes. Or, there's always that 15 to 20 minutes that seems to get lost somewhere.
Well, can I start with something that's happening right now?
Of course.
Okay, so, we
Are
had
we
a mail
live?
out, yes.
Okay.
We had a mail out closing, buyers and sellers. It was supposed to arrive yesterday. It
Oh, okay.
didn't.
Uh-huh.
The lock expires tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
The contract expires tomorrow. Everybody's signed, but the notary on the buyer side didn't get it in the FedEx in time. Now there's a weather delay,
Uh-oh.
and we don't know when the package is arriving.
And it's in transit, so we can't get,
Right, so the lender just called me this morning and she's like, I can do, what is
an
it called?
emergency extension?
Like, no, virtual signings. Like her
Oh.
bank can do it, and she had asked Debbie, and Debbie was like, no, it's too expensive. I don't know if the county will accept that.
That's my biggest concern is, I gotta make sure that I talk to Alyssa about exactly what it needs to say and what needs to be done, because we haven't dove into that. So as soon as this meeting is over,
Okay.
I will reach out to Alyssa because
Okay.
we can bend over backwards and pull rabbits out of our hat, but if we
Yeah.
can't get it recorded,
Right.
that's, then it's a wasted effort, so,
And the wire showed up yesterday,
okay.
and I guess title has 24 hours to distribute
Okay.
once the wire arrives. So we're like,
Well, really, it sounds like to meet the lock expiration and the contract expiration, we just need to have,
sellers.
I feel like if docs are in transit, we're closed.
Right.
It's really just a matter of, we have to be able to record in order to disperse.
Right.
But one thing that is sort of a misnomer or a myth is that the paperwork says we are closed when we are in possession of funds and we have a delivery of deeds. Okay, so, and technically delivery of a deed means that the seller has endorsed it and it has been notarized with the intent to record, so
Right.
it being in transit, I think it could easily be argued legally that we are closed.
Right, and you guys have the seller's doc.
And
Just not
so
the
that's the key.
Right.
Seller's docs and money.
Yes. And you have
Those
that.
two are the key components of having a closed transaction. All the other stuff is technically post-closing activity, okay? We can be closed and you not have your commission check.
Right,
We can be closed and not have book and page. I mean, in bigger cities, those deeds will sit in a stack waiting to be recorded.
right.
And they're recording stuff that was put in that stack 6 or 7 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're closed, I think, by definition. So I don't know that there's any concern for having to do extensions in that regard.
Right,
Unless, of course, the lender has a very, very short window in which we have to return the wire,
I
in
think
the
she made it
event.
sound like it. She's like, I'm gonna call and kind of press the issue.
Good.
Having like a virtual signing or something.
Let's see if we can avoid that
Yeah, okay,
by having Debbie and myself
okay,
basically liaison with you and your
Yeah.
closer or your
Yeah.
processor and just say, look, we have the money, how long can we hold it?
yeah.
Because we'll be recorded by what, Thursday, Friday at the latest?
Yeah.
What
it's-
did they say about the delivery delay?
Let me get you.
Because the storm is huge.
It is.
It's got a name and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
They give them names.
Yeah. That's when you know it's a thing.
That's real.
We have a weather delay. The loan package is stuck in Memphis due to weather.
Oh, yeah.
Jessica's talking with FedEx now to see if they think it will make it to us tomorrow with the current weather forecast. We will update you when we know more.
Okay. Well, I would hope that the lender has some flexibility with regards to Mother Nature. I know that we
Right.
can certainly try it.
Exactly.
So let's have that communication,
Okay.
and we'll just, we'll see if we can avoid having to scramble and do any remote
Okay.
online notary for that matter, so.
Okay.
I'll address it as soon as I get back to the office, so.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's talk title. I'm Josh Payne with San Juan Title Company, now a part of the Fidelity family of companies. I've actually been doing a lot of traveling recently and I've learned quite a bit about how we can strengthen our partnership with our realtors and offer tools, and things like that will help you guys be more efficient, be more effective, be more visible, and be more professional. One of those things that we're currently doing right now is we're getting online with our Palm Agent. I don't know, has anyone here heard of Palm Agent? Okay, well, it's a mobile app interface that is going to allow you guys a lot of tools with regards to net outs. When you're sitting down with a client who might want to list with you and you're having that sensitive discussion about what they want to get for it versus what the market will bear, you can show them, at the click of your buttons on your phone, you can show them at a glance, what sort of impact it's going to have, like, for example, for waiting. Okay, so let's say your buyer has, right now the buyer can get, let's say 6.25% or 6.85%. The cost of that buyer waiting in a market where the seller is strong, you can do some pretty quick math with this function that will tell them, look, even if you wait and the interest rate goes up, the variable change in the sales price of the house would end up having to be X for you to break even, meaning buy it now.
Yeah.
Right? So some of those tools, you can push it right in front of them and say, see, watch when I move this needle. See what happens to the sales price versus the number of buyers that you may have lost because of an increase in, because when interest rates increase, buyers tend to pull back and say, we'll just deal with what we have. It's too expensive to borrow, or I can't get the rate I want. Those sort of things. So it also, it's tied in, and I'm still learning it. We're just now getting our hands on it, but we plan on rolling that out soon. How's everybody doing with In Here? You guys have your In Here login, and you guys are interfacing with that really well. Okay,
We used to be
fantastic.
able to upload documents into that,
Yeah,
but now we can't. We don't have that capability, I don't believe.
okay,
So I don't know.
really?
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure. Like when you guys first rolled out with it, I was able to upload like,
What were you uploading?
Termite inspections?
yes,
Oh,
septic
okay.
inspections, that type of
Okay.
thing. I mean, it's just as
Right.
easy to email, but
Yeah, I never
It-
thought
Right,
of
it's
using
all
it
in
for
one
that.
spot.
yeah,
That's
it's
better.
nice
Yeah,
that
yeah,
everybody has it. So let me
Yeah.
double
Well,
check.
we actually, they just developed a new plugin for Outlook. I'm not sure if that's something that you guys will be able to utilize or if it's just inside our building, but I will look into that. But the new Outlook plugin is really cool because you don't have to get out of Outlook in order to communicate through in here. So we'll be able to pull documents directly from emails that you send us directly into our file in our SmartView program through the In Here plugin. And so we just had a tutorial on that, and so we're playing with it and really getting to understand it better, because that plugin, see, you have to remember, we have to log in to our In Here as well. And so the plugin is really beneficial for us from an efficiency standpoint, because it allows us to just do business in Outlook through In Here without having to bounce out, register, log in, password, and then do our work in the In Here app. So hopefully that's something that'll be available to you guys, or to Outlook / In Here users.
Right.
And that plugin, if it becomes available, I think would be a real benefit for you guys.
Yeah. So no, you can't upload them anymore.
Okay,
and
so-
we also used to be able to like message like in whatever pertinent information, we used to be able to message in that, so everybody is just there.
Can I have, would it be okay if I had Debbie contact you directly?
Yeah.
And you could tell her what you guys are running
Okay.
into, because she's kind of my go-to
Yeah.
on the tech side for these applications.
Okay.
And I'll have her find out if that's a glitch or if it's something they're working on, but it doesn't make sense that you guys wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, we used to.
Because
you
if
guys
it's,
remember?
if it's a
Yeah.
fully, if you used to be able to do it,
Messaging.
that tells me that something needs to be fixed
Okay.
in the In Here app, and we will we'll put in a service ticket ASAP and let them know our clients are having some difficulty. So, I had the pleasure of meeting and seeing Tom Ferry.
Oh, nice.
That was a fantastic program. If you haven't logged on or if you haven't heard of him, as a realtor, you really need to get to know who he is and understand some of his concepts and his tactics. His performance, I guess I would say, is spectacular, and it really will give you guys a leg up on the competition when.
Shaya. Sorry.
We have a seat for you.
Unless you want to sit. I'm
Sorry.
Come join us.
Please don't make me do that.
Well, we did all agree that if somebody came in late, they would have to do a song and dance. So I hope you have something prepared. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Pretend I didn't come.
Yeah.
So I really would encourage you guys to get to know Tom Ferry. Another guy, and I need to make sure I get his spelling right. Another guy I want you guys to check out is.
Yeah, I like watching his stuff on YouTube.
It is
Yeah.
fantastic. Let me make sure I've got the right guy here. Instagram. He kind of reminds me of the lead singer of. No, that's definitely not him. That guy likes trucks. He reminds me of the lead singer, Adam Levine. Really sharp dude. Oh, this guy really likes trucks. Jason Santana? Anyway, I'll figure out how to spell his name and get it to you. He showed us a lot of very, very amazing AI I know everybody's probably heard AI, they're talking about it constantly. I would encourage you guys to embrace it. It may feel a little intimidating at first, but some of the things that he revealed to us and how it can help realtors gather information, sort and organize information, and package it in a way that makes you guys look fabulous. Whether it's listing a home, whether it's just getting your name or Exit Realty out there, it really is a fantastic opportunity for you guys to do a ton of work and a ton of preparation with very, very little input. It will go out there and it will find MLS statistics for San Juan County. It will analyze MLS statistics. You can say, hey, transfer this Excel spreadsheet, analyze MLS statistics for the past 6 months, package it into a report. This is me, this is my resume, this is the number of deals I've done. Here are some Yelp reviews of some clients that said, Stacy was fantastic. He was very thorough, he communicated well, and you can actually package that information and put it into an app called Notebook LM. L as in Larry, M as in Mary. Notebook LM, it's magical. It'll create basically a podcast of a length that you desire. You simply input the information that you would like for them to talk about, and it builds a podcast.
Wow.
Like,
Interesting.
so hey, we're here. Hey, it's Tuesday morning. We're here talking about Stacy Borland. Have you heard about this girl? She is amazing. She's a realtor in San Juan County, Four Corners area. You know, Four Corners. You know, that's yeah. That's where the states all meet in one point. You got it. That's it. And you just sit there and you're like, who are these people? But they do. They sound like radio personalities. It's all AI.
That's
They sound like radio personalities.
Crazy, but
So they're like, so, you know,
Super cool.
yeah, they'll be like, so here's the good news and bad news about San Juan County. So median home sales are up. It's strong. It's a seller's market. But, you know, and they'll talk about it and they'll say, well, you know, according to this data or according to these statistics or according to Stacy, what Stacy said, you know, we reached out to Stacy and, you know, like all this stuff. They'll make up stuff.
Wow.
So it's pretty fantastic.
Make sure
And
it's all correct, and then
if you're wanting to crunch data, if you're just like, I don't know, I can't deal with all these numbers, you can actually put stuff in and say, analyze this data, let me know based on forecasts of interest rates and median home sale increases and decreases in markets similar to ours here in Four Corners, what can we expect in the next 6 months, and what should I be telling sellers about why they need to list now, or why they should be weary about trying to get top dollar in a market where the inventory is so high and the buyers are just not there, or whatever. And so, and it'll just basically say, all right, well, based on the data I've analyzed, here's your answer. And you can package that. You know, you can put it into a Facebook page, or you know, if you're on Instagram, if you're doing listings, you know, things like that. It'll help you with it. It has marketing materials where if you just input the raw data, input the photos that you took of the house, say, make me an exciting and, you know, I need to do an ad for the paper. I want to show off this property. I want to advertise for an open house. Whatever it is, it's an amazing tool. So I would encourage you guys to
my everyone's listings I notice are
getting jazzed up a little bit, huh?
Because I use
I
it.
never do a
I
description
always
without
get like
AI.
that block, like writer's block.
Yep,
Like,
every
what the hell
time.
do I say? So I go to ChatGPT, that's the free one.
I'm not sure if Notebook does it or if it's Google's Gemini, but there's also an AI function that allows you to talk directly. Well, like for example, if I was making a media video and I was talking directly to the camera, I could actually have the script below and I could read from the script below. The camera will recognize the location of my eyes and adjust them up to the camera to where it looks like I memorized every word of the entire script.
On the world.
Yeah, so when you
Let's
see,
try this.
yeah, so when you guys are doom scrolling through Instagram or whatever, and you see these professionals come on and they're like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about this. It's exciting new blah, blah, blah. And they're looking at the camera the whole time. Chances are they probably had AI scroll and scrub that video and adjust their eye location. So, in fact,
One blue eye, one brown eye.
yeah. If you've been on our San Juan Title website and looked at our contact information, you probably saw a lot of really colorful new professional headshots. Okay, all AI. All you have to do is go in, and you guys can use this for your professional media as well, without having to go and spend $2,000 on a new wardrobe. You know, because they put the jackets and the sweaters and like to be perfect for you. Because do you own a suit?
Yes.
You have one.
I do.
Well, now you have 5 or 6 different colors.
Debbie doesn't have a photo on
And
it.
beautiful.
Everyone's like,
Yeah, and the backgrounds are cool. They'll put you like on a cobblestone street with like
Yeah.
beautiful autumn leaves in the background. So those are our professional headshots.
AI headshots.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, never mind.
Wow.
Except
You
Margaret.
can actually, Margaret didn't do it.
Margaret didn't.
Oh, yeah, our photographer over here is
totally-
like, what?
You can actually, from all the way across the table, you can tell which ones
Oh, yeah,
were
right.
done professionally and which ones were done by like a selfie with their phone.
There's none of you,
I'm at the
Dusty,
bottom.
Rachel.
I'm
He
at
was
the
at
very
the bottom.
bottom.
Debbie. Oh, was he?
Yes, right there. There he is.
Well, oh, there we go.
Yeah, and you just do it. You can say, "Hey, run them again." Only, but like maybe take some of my crow's feet out. Like maybe you had a little bit too much aging, but they'll take it both directions. Like if you don't have them, they might give you one-on-one to make you look a little bit more distinguished. Whether you wear glasses or not, they'll put glasses on you in one of them. One of them, they put a captain's hat on me.
You're
So-
like that one.
They know you're about to ship.
I mean, one of the gals, they did them and they made her black. I'm like, really?
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
And I'm like, that's probably don't want to use that one. But no, let's keep scrolling. But they laugh their asses off looking at some of these because they do stuff with your hair. Like, if you send a bunch of pictures in and your hair's not like that, they'll still do it like that. And you can be like, oh man, I didn't know, I look good in shadow.
This is kind of handy, actually.
Yeah, Stacy will be all clean shaven with his hair slicked back and dyed, and you're like, that's
That's
good.
the look.
Yeah.
Catfishing.
So and that's called Aragon AI. And
That's
it's
very
for
cool.
$30, you drop 6 or 7 of your favorite photos off your phone,
Wow.
and it will analyze the data and create all of
that's
those
scary and
scenarios.
awesome.
So there's a lot to take advantage of for people in your market where image is everything, professionalism, putting that vibe out there, and then of course advertising and getting your name out is huge. So if you are, I would strongly encourage you to ask your clients if they had a good experience to please find a place where you can gather those reviews, whether it's your LinkedIn account or whether it's some place where you can direct them, because reviews are huge.
Yeah, you can request them on Realtor.com.
Yeah, I mean, how many have booked a hotel in the last 3 months?
Yeah.
And how influential were those reviews? When you saw those stars and those rankings, like, no, I'm not staying anywhere that's 2-star. I don't even need to read the reviews. And it's because it's not all about money. You can see the dollar signs, but then you can also see the stars, and you can read those reviews, and it's like, bed bugs, nope. Like, I'm out. So you really want to promote yourself by encouraging your clients and those who have worked with you. If they had a good experience, please take the time to do it. And again, like I said, you can wrap those reviews into your podcast, and they will actually read those reviews, and they'll come on and say, well, for example, Tara just had, Kelsey just sold a home to the Robinson family, and my gosh, they couldn't stop talking. about how great she was and how great, how smooth the experience was. You know, so that sort of thing. So pay attention to your reviews. Make sure you're following up with those who may not have had an experience, because you really want to hang on to that client. You know, whatever went wrong, address it, attempt to make amends. If it wasn't your fault, don't throw anybody under the bus. Just say, you know what, we put a plan into place to keep this from happening again, whatever it may be. But they'll appreciate that you followed up, and they'll appreciate that you actually took the time to analyze what went wrong with that, and to make sure that you put protections in place, or that you maybe change your style or the way that you do business so that you don't have that happen again. I mean, that's the negative side of it. Obviously, you guys are all going to get glowing reviews, but I can't stress enough how important it is to pay attention to your media presence. Okay, that's huge. I know I was brought here to talk about titles, so I'm ready to do that, but I was just real excited to regurgitate all the things. I mean, it made me want to be a realtor. I'm like, this, no, I don't want to work that hard. You know, but it really, and everybody in there, they were talking mainly to title people, but it was important for us to hear that, because that's how we can add value to your job, and to make our partnership and success more stronger. Because you guys can do everything right in a deal from beginning to end, and the title company can screw it up for you. Something outside of your control could screw it up. So having that partnership and that open line of communication, just like you did, you told us what wasn't working, that's how we find out. Those are things that I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable doing. And especially, I mean, you guys all know how to reach me. You got my email, you got my cell, and I do follow up and try to address all the issues that come from, and maybe it's a learning experience for all of us. You know, maybe it's like, all right, here's what I learned that we could have done to prevent it, but I'm also going to mention that this is something that y'all could have done too, and then we work together. I mean, that's how things get fixed, right? So in the end, we're all working toward the same client. We're all working with the same goal. I don't get paid if we don't close, and neither do you. So anytime in situations in the future where I get involved and you get a hard no from me, it's probably because it's either illegal or completely 100% against corporate policy, and probably in violation of some of your loan closing instructions. You know what I mean? So, but I understand, and I'm flexible to all the tools and options, just like the discussion we had just a minute ago. You know, if we look at it from a slightly different vantage point and say, well, wait a second, we are closed. So what now, right? We overcame that challenge of maybe we don't need to re-notarize the docs. Why would we sign a deed again? It's there. It's in the flow.
It's in the bus.
Right. So those are kind of things that with communication, I think we can probably find the easiest and most efficient solution to a lot of problems. So I would encourage you to keep the lines open and know that we're not out to get you. Right. If a deal is sluggish or delayed or flat out falling flat and possibly canceled, know that we are doing everything we can to make sure that it doesn't do that it doesn't cancel, that you don't lose a buyer. And we have a lot of flexibility and knowledge to come at it from a different angle and maybe get it done. So that's what we try to do. Who here is completely 100% familiar with what title insurance is? Like when a client says, well, why do I need this? Do you have a good answer?
Not so much.
I have an answer, but it's probably not.
Right.
100%
Not what
correct.
Well, and maybe to get you off that first step of just saying you have to have it, moving on. You know what I mean? I think just to understand the history of it, back in the good old days where a person's word was their word, we're talking our great grandpas, you know, if you shook hands, it was a done deal, right? Well, over the years, people got malicious, people got dishonest, and they, land transactions where it was like, here, I'm just gonna symbolically put this dirt in your hands. You own from the river to the barn, to the road, to this tree. That was the legal description. And, I'm gonna give you 13 head of cattle for this land. And it was done with a handshake, and nobody challenged it. Well, over the years, you know, people got rotten. And so they came up with the deed, the warranty deed. Now we have something documented. We have a piece of paper that can be filed for all the world to see that this land was traded for this 13 head of cattle. And the names are there, if the records are well kept. And the warranty deed means that the seller has provided a warranty that they own the property that they're selling, okay? That's what the word warranty means, is there are certain covenants, it says with warranty covenants, if you read a deed in detail. And those warranty covenants are, I give you all that I have, and I alone have the ability to warrant or guarantee that I'm the owner of this piece of land or this house or this building. And those warranties have to hold up in court. And you can take that to the judge, you can say, he lied to me, and those warranties are now broken, and you can suffer penalties for that dishonesty. So that went on for a while, and then people started being dishonest and rotten with their warranty deeds, and they're like, well, what's the solution? Because lenders were starting to back off, and they're like, well, we don't feel comfortable giving our money to buy this if we don't get some sort of guarantee that it's going to be us that takes it back if they don't pay. So the title insurance was born out of that. These companies came together, they pooled resources, they set reserves, and they said, we will back the seller's warranty. If that seller was lying, we'll take care of it. If the seller did something dishonest or malicious, or didn't tell someone about the fact that he only owned half of it, or that he lost it in a poker game last week, and there's a deed floating around out there, he doesn't own it, but he's selling it for the cash. All those sorts of things happen. To this day, it still happens. Vacant land fraud is a huge deal right now, especially on the West Coast, where there's a lot of land out there where, you know, Asians, families have bought them from Japan because they plan to fly here and retire and build a house someday. So they're off the continent, but they own land. And all it takes is for a couple of people in the right position to stage a coup and basically convince a buyer that it's theirs to sell, and convince a title company that they are that person. And now with the advent of DocuSign and, deepfakes, we were just talking about AI and how we can make it good for us. The fraudsters are figuring out how to make AI good for them.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, I don't feel comfortable doing this deal if you haven't had a conversation with him. Like if you say, I've just been talking with this guy from the Philippines online, but he checks out. I'm like, how? How does he check out? Have you talked to him? Have you FaceTimed him? Have we spoken to him on the phone? Have we gotten anything with his handwritten signature that we can compare it to other things in the record? Or blah, blah, blah. They're getting very slick to the point where they can video themselves and put somebody else's face on you. And you're like, hi, okay, see, this is great. Yep, all right, we're good to go. Your face matches, and that's the face that they digitally pulled off and put on the face that's talking to them. You know, and it's
Aragon face.
yeah, it's
Creepy.
it's so we need to verify, double verify, especially with vacant land where you are contacted by email and they're not local. Those red flags should start going up. It doesn't mean you don't have a deal. It doesn't mean that, you know, your liaison with some MLS site or with Redfin or Zillow or whatever, they found you through this location. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad deal. Just be cautious, okay? So the title company is paying out billions of dollars every year to cover losses from wire fraud, vacant land fraud, and similar things right now. Wire fraud being number one. I can't stress enough, do not click anything blue or that says open this link unless it's something that you have specifically asked for and you have verified the sender. We've gotten bid on it before. Stacy, what's your email address?
StacyPage@gmail.com.
StacyPage@gmail.com. If I get something from StacyPage@gmail.com, it usually says Stacy King, StacyPage@gmail.com. Hey Josh, here's some documents to put into your. I'm feeling good about that, because I expected these documents. I asked for them, or I know that he said in this meeting, as soon as I get back to my office or whatever, I'm going to send these to you. Those are anticipated. But if somebody was sitting, and they're very patient, if somebody was sitting there watching his traffic, and they send me Stacy King, Stacy Page at rmail.com or jmail.com, I might miss that. And I might open that file or drag that toxic document into my system. So don't just look at the name, look at the email. And be aware of certain things, certain weird grammatical things, because the fraudsters they'll slip up and use some weird wording. You've seen it before where it's like, Josh would never use the word thrice. I've sent it to you thrice now. And, so, if you see like the tag at .e.uk.r. Try to be vigilant and really look at it, because I've been josh@san-juan-title.com for 20 plus years. If you get something from me that says, here's an email from Josh Payne, and it's jpayne@tx.r.bk.uk, like, weird, don't open it, it's not me. And so that's really what they're doing. And they're starting to do it with texting now. It's called smishing. Phishing, the PH phishing is the traditional word. But what they'll do is they'll find a way in, whether it's through trolling your Instagram or sometimes they'll find ways to get the answers to your security questions. You never want to put your mother's maiden name or your kids' full legal names. Just be cautious that everything that you put out there, even in ChatGPT, is stored and archived. There is a switch on ChatGPT that you want to go in the settings and you'll want to say, do not archive my data. Like, learn about me, but don't put it out to the public, and don't keep it in. Make sure your privacy settings are set. Your privacy settings need to be reviewed for Facebook, Instagram, and anything where you're out there in public. Make sure you look carefully at your settings and make sure you're not doing more. Venmo, perfect example. Unless you want the world to see that you paid John back for pizza that he bought you, then click the private button. Like, why would you want anyone to know that you sent $300 to your daughter to help her with a car payment? You know what I mean? So be cautious and be secure with your data, because they're using AI to gather every single bit of information that you put out there. In fact, they know the name of your kitten. They know that you just rescued a dog from the pound, and that's frightening. So keep that in mind. So back to title. Title insurance is basically, I don't like the word insurance. I don't think it's accurate, but what we do is we provide an indemnification to the policyholder that on the day that you purchase that property, we gave you an accurate status of title. and we let you know everything of record in the public records that may distract or disrupt your full freedom in the use of that land. In its purest form, what's called fee simple absolute means you have rights to that piece of earth down to the core of the earth and an infinity up into space. Well, and you don't owe anybody to own it. You don't, like, you're free and clear of all. But we know right off the bat, they tax the property. So now we are, one little freedom was taken away from our ability to own that land. And then you have things like mineral rights. Like, fee simple absolute means you can drill and take whatever gold, oil, and gas that's underneath it, but no, you can't because it's been severed. So now it's fee simple diminished, right? But for our purposes, most people that you deal with are, they want to be able to plant a tree, put in a rose garden, maybe put in some pavers up to the house, and they want to enjoy the surface, okay? So we're dealing mostly in surface rights. But the title company is responsible for letting that person know what encumbrances and restrictions and freedoms have been stripped. If we don't tell you that the neighbor can drive across the westerly 30 feet of your property, and maybe you bought that property thinking you were gonna fence it in and run horses, and you were gonna put a beautiful row of ficus trees to prevent, like, to get like a wind curtain, and you find out after you purchase that there's, you know, the teenagers down the street have the right to drive through your property and kick up dust and raise hell and whatever they do, and you can't do anything about it. So it is a big responsibility for us to give you that snapshot in time. That's why the commitment is very important. That's why you need to make sure that and In-Here provides that security now. We have technology, it records everything. If we sent the binder to your client, if you verified that your client is in here, okay, or that you got the binder and that binder was sent, In-Here will log that binder was sent and received, okay?
On your side, not our side.
Right. So we will keep that data, and if anybody ever claims that they didn't get it, my realtor didn't provide that to me. They didn't tell me I needed to do anything with it, blah, blah, blah. Your correspondence with them is well archived. Our correspondence is well archived and secure, so there's no bait and switch. If they didn't read their binder, boo-hoo, okay? That's the biggest thing I hear is, oh, well, I didn't read my binder. It's like, well, then that's where we told you that there are covenants, and so this house that you built is a violation. You probably should have checked with, you know, blah, blah, blah.
I have a
That sort of
question in
thing,
relation
so,
to covenants. So on covenants, they're, you know, some of them are 60 years old. You get them and they're like really difficult to read, and nobody really enforces those, right? I mean, so in my experience, if you do encounter issues with the covenants, what's the recourse, or is there any? Or
Well,
what do you have any recommendations on a contact or anything on that?
That's a great question. First and foremost, the existence and the enforcement of a homeowners association will be your first clue. If there is an organized HOA, then you gotta figure out who that contact is and reach out to them.
Sure.
In the absence of an organized HOA, it really boils down to what is it that you want to do? Is it harmonious with what is currently existing? And if somebody ever came to you and said, you violated item number 5 on page 2 of the covenants, are you prepared to say, well, then half of the people in the subdivision are violating it? So,
Yeah, who's gonna
and
stop?
Yeah.
so
Where's the enforcement?
I would, in instances where you are concerned about, where you have actual knowledge of a person's intent to use the property in a way or in a manner that is completely in conflict with, again, some of the major boilerplate components of covenants are gonna be minimum livable square footage, height, setbacks that are more restrictive than the basic city setbacks. If they're, honestly, covenants are important, and they're actually cherished by a lot of buyers because they want to know that somebody's not going to be able to pull up next to them and put a mobile home in, or a chain link fence, or horses, or whatever. And so it really becomes a matter of what's on the ground now. What is it that buyer has relayed to you that they want to do that you think might be out of bounds? A lot of it's all case by case. If you've got an old established subdivision and what they're doing is harmonious with everybody else around them, you can say, well, it's not likely that somebody's going to come along and make sure that you have 2,200 livable square feet. Your build out plan is at 21,500 or 2,150. You're short, but how many other houses in that subdivision are short? And then it becomes a legal matter, because the only thing that a person that exists in a subdivision can do to enforce covenants in the absence of a HOA that was probably supposed to be formed pursuant to the covenants. Good covenants will have very clear rules about once 60%, the developer is the end all and be all. They are the manager, they are the enforcer of the covenants that they created until such time that 60% of the lots are sold or houses built. The homeowners are required, again, they should have read their covenants, because if they were the first house in, it may be 2 years before they have a neighbor. But they need to get together with that neighbor and say, hey, at some point, we're going to need to organize, and we're going to need to understand not only the Homeowners Association Act of New Mexico, which is a law, we're also going to need to understand our covenants and make sure that we enforce them to protect our investment. Hopefully that is the kind of thing that is going to happen more often with newer developments going forward, like Little Creek, like Rusty Sun Townhomes. That's old, but they've got covenants and they've got an HOA, and those people, Karens are real.
We have, Alyssa and I have a subdivision listed in Bloomfield, North Ranch Cove.
Okay.
And the developer tried to form an HOA and the neighborhood kind of nixed it. But he's still kind of he is in charge of the covenants and the architectural design of all of the properties. Even though there's no governing HOA, he still has, in the covenants it says he has the right to tell you yes or no.
Form an HOA if he wants to, is that what it is?
So he tried to form it, but he's still in charge of approving their design.
Oh, gotcha.
But eventually, it's
Yeah, a lot of covenants will have language in there that says that the developer is in charge until an HOA is formed and organized. And at that point, the developer can then hand off and say, I still want to be involved. I want to be a part of the association because I have 6 lots left to sell. And I want to make sure you guys don't go get weird and then leave me with 6 lots I can't sell because you allowed XYZ things to happen, or you didn't give notice of violation to any of the people on my cul-de-sac, and now I can't sell these lots because of this, or whatever.
And the city, they won't enforce. The city or the county will not enforce covenants. It's up to the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah, it's just an interesting situation. I mean, a lot of times they're present. Are they enforceable? They probably aren't going to enforce them. Here's the information, just so you're aware.
Yeah, the old ones tend to only have 1 or 2, maybe 3 key components, because the language is so outdated. It's and honestly, there are old covenants that are racist, discriminatory. Stuff that is not okay ever. And my favorite is no pigs or swine.
I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, no pigs or swine, and I finally talked to somebody like, well, swine is more of an agricultural word that's used for agricultural production of pork products, whereas pigs, you can just have a pig
Like their pet,
and a pig pen, like a pet, or we're gonna,
butcher them.
we're gonna butcher him when he gets old enough, that would be a pig. Swine would be more of a farm or production or multiple, horses and equine, cows and cattle. Like it's logistics, but I finally figured out that that's what they were talking about, because back then you had much larger tracts of land. It was pretty much all rural, and people just didn't want pigs next door to their house.
Yeah,
So-
sure.
but then, well, that's not. I don't have pigs. I'm a swine farmer, and they're like, okay, no pigs or swine, right? No dogs or canines, idiot.
There's
Like,
a reason
you know what I
for
mean? But no manufactured homes. That's a big one, and
Yeah.
livable square footage needs to be.
Yeah.
Usually those older houses, especially a lot of the older neighborhoods in Farmington, where they anywhere from 1,200 to 1,800 minimum. And that's why when you travel through some of these old neighborhoods, they're all the same distance from the street. The fences are, somewhat similar. You got chain link and you got wood, and then you got, so the covenants over the years, they're like, well, we don't want, there's the George Payne subdivision down at Hallmark and Linda. You know where that is? Down there by Rancho. They have very strict requirements on fence height, fence construction, and fence material. No chain link, no stucco, no flat roof, and they have specifics on the pitch of the roof. So it's 6 feet over 12. It has to pitch at least 6 feet over 12. So that's why when you go down there, it's like we're not in New Mexico anymore, Dorothy. You're looking around, and it's all
very different.
siding and
Yes.
white, the white melamine fences, and then the pitched roofs. So the craziest covenants we have in town is definitely Las Vistas. Las Vistas looks like
Yes.
an Arizona
By Chokecherry.
multi-family community, yeah. Up the Hood Mesa and then you
Right.
veer left. So, that one's like almost an inch thick.
Yeah.
And they talk about everything from the wattage in the lumens, the brightness of your patio lighting, and it has to be pointed down so that it has to, you know what I mean? The landscaping, the retaining walls, all of those elevations, the ACC, the Agricultural Committee has to approve all, interior and exterior plans. Certain percentage of the property has to remain native. They have to approve every tree you pull out. And so that's the two extremes.
Okay. Wow.
But to get back to your question,
No.
it's in the absence of an effective and organized association, it's crapshoot, and it usually ends up being legal. It's how bad do you want to fight, and how much do you want to pay an attorney to see what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then the judge will take all this data and they'll say, well, there's no HOA. None of these rules have been enforced. The plaintiff has provided no evidence to the defendant that others in that area have been granted variances for what they've done, which is exactly what you're doing. I find in favor of the defendant due to lack of enforcement and multiple violations to do what you want to do.
Awesome. No, that's helpful. That's really
You know?
good. Yeah, the one I encountered the other day was a super old neighborhood, and it said all the CCRs, should go through 4 people, and it was from 1955.
They're all dead.
Yeah, exactly.
they're all
So I was all, wow.
Yeah, a lot of the old covenants also have a small clause at the end that says, these are enforceable for 25 years unless amended. So there might be even an
A chance that it
expiration.
just expired to
And
Okay.
renewable in
Cool.
10-year segments
Yeah.
after that until amended or revoked.
Thank you. I'll look out
So,
for that.
so as long as everybody gets together and makes a decision as a community to decide what to do, often covenants will have provisions for amendment. where they can say, all right, we need to relax a little bit on this, because we just found out that 6 of the 20 people in our subdivision have not met the covenant for livable square footage, right? So it's really just a matter of how bad do you wanna fight it.
Okay,
Right.
that's helpful though.
So do we have someone in particular that we could refer, cause I've ran into issues when it comes to going over the title binder commitment, I don't know, binder, is that what we call it?
Yeah,
Cause there's some stuff that I'm like, I don't know.
the advice I usually give is that when you have a client, and my favorite combination is an engineer married to a teacher. Another red flag. just based on my past experience, for some reason, when an engineer is married to a teacher, shields up.
I have
Right?
clients that are exactly that.
Are you serious?
Exactly that.
Okay, you've been warned.
We just terminated a deal too.
No!
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Today, yep.
They said no.
It's rough there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
anyway, it's,
to answer your
yeah.
question, I think the first stage would be to say, look, I would not be doing you a good service by pretending to know what all these documents are.
Yes.
But if you could tell me what your concern is, and if you want to see any of these documents or all of these documents, I will have the title company send them to you. And then if you want to read through them or consult with your attorney, then that's what you need to recommend.
Okay.
So you don't have a contact for
Simple,
that?
no, me,
All
your title
all
examiner.
Yeah.
We field calls like that all the time, happily, that you're not bothering us, that's what we're there to do. If you say, hey, the client is wondering about this West Hammond, water transfer fee, that you posted that there's something filed, how does that affect my client? We can answer that, we can say, well, let me get you a copy of it, you know, that's just one of a myriad of examples, but hey, can we get a copy of the covenants? Hey, I see here that you say that you take exception to all matters, disclaim terms, provisions of the survey plat. The client would like to review the survey plat, can you get us a copy? Of course. Then they can look at it and be like, I don't see really any issue here. But there are things in certain subdivisions where it says, like it could be a corner lot in a neighborhood and it says access by way of Apple Street only. And maybe their plans were to have it accessed from the other corner. And they're like, oh geez, we can't build our dream home here because we had a circular drive going like where you could go, like you could cut the corner, like you could turn in and then you could drive out on the other street, and then maybe we would have an option for addresses because I really don't want my address to be 3rd Street, I want it to be Pleasant Lane. Like, we don't know what these people are super concerned about.
So I can
And
talk
you-
to them.
Yeah, and you definitely want to get in touch with us. We'll first start by giving you the documents, because we don't know what level of education or real estate background they may have. They may just say, yeah, just give me the documents, I'll read them. And I'll let you know if I object to anything in the period, right? So, to answer your question, just let us know.
Okay.
And you can refer people to me, or one thing I would do as a realtor, and this would be a win-win situation, is you call me and ask, right? Not that I'm gonna, not give your client the same attention I would give you, but let's build that relationship, let's strengthen it. Hey Josh, I have a client, they just read their commitment, they have a question about this easement. They want a fence in the lot because they have an emu.
Cause I've had.
They don't want their emu to get out. Are they allowed to fence this in even though there's an easement where the people have to drive through? And I can be like, yes, but if they're gonna gate it, they have to give the neighbor a key to the lock or let them have their own padlock on the chain. You know what I mean? So then you can relay that to them. You've gotten educated because you asked the question. If you have the client call me direct, you miss out on the answer that I gave. So you're not building any knowledge for that future. And maybe you get a question enough to where you feel comfortable in the future, 3-4 years from now. You know what? I've had that question happen. Here's the answer. And they're like, knowledge. Knowledge, they did rankings. They did a lot of surveys for people regarding their realtor experience. And I got bit on this. I thought I knew the answer. I got this. It's relationships. It's all about relationships. No, not anymore. Knowledge, efficiency, and access. Are you accessible? Are you efficient? Are you organized? But most importantly, they said having a knowledgeable realtor was number one on their list. Because what do they ask you? Like, what can I get for this house? I think I can get $289. You can't get $289. Tell me why.
Yeah, educate your buyers.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets pounded into you guys. And I know you're weary, especially if, maybe some new realtors who haven't really established that word of mouth clientele. You're constantly wanting to please. $289, that's what you want, that's what you're gonna get. I'll fight hard for $289. But in your head, you're going, I am never gonna find somebody at $289. I'm gonna waste all my time and effort trying to please this client to get a referral. And in the end, it's just gonna sit on the market so long, they're gonna blame me for the days on market. So you have to, relationships are important, but you spew knowledge to somebody you just met while you're driving into that first location, they will remember that, okay? So educate yourself, understand, make a note in your calendar to review the MLS statistics every month. Did it go down? Did inventory go up or down? What was the price point of the houses that sold? Right? What was the age? Should I be encouraging my listings to fix these things up because the houses that are selling are remodeled or they have new kitchens, right? The data is there. It's there for you to use. And if you see somebody who is successfully turning houses, you can glean some information from that data to find out who's closing the deals, what are they doing that I'm not doing, right? And what can these numbers tell me that I can use to make my next client think that I know it all, right? Because there may be some tough conversations that you need to have. I'm not taking this listing. Why? You're unrealistic about what you think you can get for it. And so I'm politely going to decline. I can refer you, but let me talk to you about what I see happening with this. And let me show you the statistics that back up what I'm telling you. I think you can get $233 for it. But you gotta do a few things, right? Help them stage the house. Tell them what's most important in the house that needs to be fixed and what investment needs to be put in the house that they will get as close to a dollar for dollar exchange on the sales price. Those are things, that's data that you need to know. Well, I think I should redo the hall bathroom. No. I can spruce up the hall bathroom with one trip to TJ Maxx. You have a kitchen problem, right? Your lighting fixtures. I will get you $2 for every dollar you spend on lighting fixtures if you buy this look and this paint.
And this brightness.
Right. Those are the kind of knowledge, that's the kind of knowledge they're looking to you for. And if you lose them because your demands were too high, they just saved you time. Because you're the one who's selling product. You're the one who's taking the pictures, right? And more importantly, ideally, you want to be on both sides. So the buyers that you have, or the buyer that may stop in or give you a call tomorrow, you would love to have the confidence to be able to tell them, I've already got 3 properties that I think would be perfect for you. And they're show ready, right? No dog hair on the couch, no pictures of the family on the walls. You've told them, look, this is not your house anymore. This is someone else's house, right? You just live here until we can get you to move. And they're like,
So it's so
oh,
offensive to them, and I'm like, promise it's not. against
less
you."
is more.
Mhm.
Nope, has anybody ever sat on that chair over there, ever? No? Get out. Right? You know, and they'll appreciate that. They'll like the confidence because now you put that knowledge as the number one on your rankings for the service you provide to your client. And then relationships are important, of course. You want that referral, but an educated buyer who had a good experience, who found their home because of the things you told that seller to do, both sides are going to say, this gal has got her shit together. She knows what she's doing. It was tough. She made us do some work, but she rolled up her sleeves and got in there and did it with us. That sort of thing. They remember that, right? And so I think that's how you can be most effective. So back on the commitment part, learn, like remember the answers that were given by an attorney or by our title examiner. And as you get forward, as you progress and become more experienced, you'll get to a point where you're confident enough to say, that's actually a good exception. You want that, right? That's the exception that allows us to bring electricity and cable and gas to your house. Oh, yeah, everybody has that. But it says it's encroaching, my driveway's encroaching. Yeah, everybody's driveway encroaches because nobody's going to leave dirt between the driveway and the street to make it easier to get to the piping and the lines underneath. That's normal. They have to say that because the surveyor said it, right? It's right here in your survey. Is anything about this survey that I've just provided to you offensive? Because I've looked at it and it looks pretty much like every other house I've sold for the last 2 years. Okay, great, moving on. Commitment's approved. Okay, great, check. That's how that communication, that's how that exchange should go. But if you're unclear, don't guess. Get the answers and then memorialize those answers. Email. I don't mind talking to somebody on the phone and I'll talk to you all day. But if neither one of us can remember what was said or why, how's that gonna help us later in court?
With that being said, would you be willing to discuss a couple of situations in which someone may want to have increased title insurance?
I love it, yeah. Let me explain a couple of things. The two main things that are added, value added coverages for, and you guys get that document that says, I think it's called the Notice to Purchaser Insured. And it's like 9 or 10 things, maybe 7 things. And to explain, in a commitment, the way I like to relate is if you said, hey, I want to take out a $2 million life insurance policy on my husband, the first thing that the insurer is going to ask is, well, what's wrong with him?
Sure.
We're going to have to do a physical. We're going to need to do an examination. We're going to examine his family history, his medical history. We're going to find out if he's on needs prescriptions. We're going to talk to you about his occupation. Is he a Hollywood stuntman or does he work behind a desk?
And did he make you mad? 'Cause
Yeah, and why all of a sudden? They're going to find out what might cause him to die tomorrow that you already know. And they're going to say, well, we're accepting to that. We understand the value of life insurance. It's for unexpected things, right? Car crashes, plane crashes, a terminal illness that there was absolutely no indication in family history, blood type, habits. Is he a smoker? Is he a drinker? Like, what are the things that could contribute to his loss of life? And then they'll say, okay, here are the things that you are insured for, and then these are the things that we are accepting from coverage, okay? Now, if you come back and say, well, how much is the premium, and this is where we get into on the added features, right? How much to have that exception removed? How much to be insured? How do I get $2 million if he dies from emphysema and he's a chain smoker? And the insurer will either say, well, we've analyzed the risk of that, and that premium is X number of dollars per year. They're called actuaries. They manage risk. They're like, okay, how much premium can we collect to make it worth the time and the loss that may come. And this is a bad example because insurers are not going to, you've heard all the stories about the fires in Pacific Palisades. That was because the insurers went to the state of California and said, we need to raise our rates for fire protection. Our actuaries have done the analysis, we've scanned the area, we've looked at your policies, you know, the ability for fire to get there, to put the fire out. We've analyzed all that data, and our premium needs to go up 18%. California says we will not allow you to raise insurance rates for fire in that area. And I said, well, then we will no longer offer that coverage. So no matter what you hear on the newscasts, this is a business transaction based on their ability to make money, based on their analysis of it, and then their American right to deny service, you know, based on what they're able to do or not do. And you see this all over, you know. Somebody says, I am demanding that you provide me real estate professional services for 1.5%. You're like, no, I don't have to accept that, right? No different. And if they never find a realtor and they never sell their house, that's on them, all right? So, so when it comes to that, there is some extra money that you can pay, for example, for survey coverage, all right? But the additional examination that we will do to assess the risk of providing survey coverage may not be worth the benefit that they get, and I'll tell you why. Remember how I said earlier is we insure for things that you don't know. If we tell you something, then we're going to accept it from coverage because you could have turned down that property. Right. Okay, so an ILR is not a survey. An ILR was created so that we could continue to make money move with the lenders efficiently and without it creating an affordability problem for the client. The surveyors did not like it, they fought it. They're like, what? You want us to get in our truck and go out there for $200? Seriously? We're like, okay. They're like, I'm not putting my name on that. I can't, the time that I would need to spend to do that is not worth $200. So I'm not gonna do it. So like, okay. So in order to give the lender the survey coverage that they demand, we're talking $800, right? Or $1,000 or $1,200. That now you're getting into my pocket because now I can't sell homes because these people are like, that's too expensive. So they got back together and they said, what if we came up with a slick, quick, easy way for you to draw a box inside of a box and show us where the corners of that box are inside the box. And maybe tell us if there's a pool or draw a square in the corner because that's where the tool shed is. Would you do that for $200? They're like, okay. But it's not a survey. We're not stamping it, we're not certifying it. And in fact, we want to put a big giant bubble with language that says this is not a survey, it cannot be used for any other purpose, it is not accurate for the purposes of blah, 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 right? So it was made for the lender so that the title company would be able to take on the risk for the lender to remove the exception for gaps, shortages in areas, overlaps, encroachments, and things that would be shown by a certified survey, right? So that coverage is provided to the lender. What you see on the notice to purchaser insured is the owner saying, I want survey coverage. Now, if he clicks yes, or he or she checks yes and says, I want that coverage, now the $800 to $1,200 bill kicks in addition to however much time it takes for them to actually get you on the schedule. And I guarantee you 90% of the time it will not fit with your closing schedule and it will not be within 45 days, which is your target closing window, right? So now you're extending, lock extension, contract extension, all because the buyer wants a survey that shows more than the ILR. They want to pay an extra 15% in a premium to me just so that I can look at the survey and say, well, now you know about all this stuff. I'm accepting to coverage for the matters that the survey showed you. Next question. What am I paying for? I give you an extra 15% in premium. I paid for this expensive survey, and you look at it and say, I'm accepting all the things shown. Well, where's my coverage? Your coverage is if the surveyor didn't show you something that they should have, and it causes you harm or damage. That's when the coverage kicks in. That is important because so many people who say, I want survey coverage. I want yes to everything. I must have as much insurance as I can. You need to be prepared to say, okay, this changes everything, right? And my gosh, how often did this happen? 20 years it happened at the closing table. How many times did you have to be there and be like, if you click yes, we're not closing today. Well, then I'm not clicking yes,
Right.
right? It was just, no, let's close, right?
Yeah.
I've had anxiety about that since I started.
Yeah.
Like I came in green, not knowing much of anything, but I sat down, I was like, oh, shouldn't they see this before? And they're like, we do, we attach it to, but nobody ever sends it back.
Yeah.
I used
that's
to have
hard.
my clients sign it and, you know, and then I'd give it back and then you guys have them sign it again at
Yes.
closing and I'm like,
They're like, okay,
Stars and rainbows
Yeah.
for you. But you were rare.
I was rare.
People would show up.
Now I don't because it
Oh,
was like,
yeah, 'cause
why
it's
did I
like
do this?
For years, we would say, when we would get to that document, we would just put our hands up and say, I can't tell you that you don't need any of this.
Correct.
And then I look over and the realtor goes, you need to just check, no, it's not right there. All right. And then they go back, and then they let us finish the closing.
Yeah.
The realtor knew.
Yeah.
The realtor knew what to say, and it was just like, boy, if you check yes on any of those
See
things,
more makes it
We're not closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
we're gonna throw down.
We're not.
Yeah. Another
So-
thing I want to point out regarding the ILRs is
Yeah.
if on the contract you mark ILR flag corners, they're not going to flag the corners.
No.
It's only
That's
done
two
with the
separate
survey,
things.
right?
Two
Yeah.
separate
That's an upgraded
It's an
survey.
upcharge.
Yes.
And
that's-
it's like $800 versus
Yes.
the, so
Yeah,
know
the
what
price
you're
jumps
checking.
up quickly.
Yes,
There's,
it does.
there's not a lot on the menu between ILR and $800 to $1,200 survey stamped,
Yes.
marked corners, staked corners,
Mhm.
whatever it is. So definitely be wary of that and be prepared to answer that question. And again, you're not trying to discourage them from getting them what they want. You just need to be realistic on the expectations. Because we have a surveyor shortage here right now, and we have a lawyer shortage right here.
Mm-hmm.
You guys
So-
have more than one that.
Yeah, do you have
anything?
recommendations
Oh
on
my
that,
gosh.
We just
please?
have you, right?
The what?
Like,
On lawyers?
as far as real estate related things.
Surveyors and lawyers, we could use more.
Yeah.
Realtors, no, we're good.
Okay.
We are good.
Lawyers though, do you have any recommendations? for anybody
Mitch
else?
Burns up the hill here, I think he's ramping up and bringing on partners to take on more
They
work.
do.
Good.
We lost Gary, we lost Jack, we lost,
Who lost Jack?
well, he's DA.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
okay.
everybody went into like.
Jack went to
Actually,
DA.
so he's not
Elected.
doing any.
He took Gary with him. Gary's gonna be his
Okay.
deputy.
Yeah.
You said Mitch Burns?
Felix retired, Paul had a medical, so Briones is out.
Mhm.
Brant, I think, is retiring if he hasn't already retired. You got Nikki here. She's right across the street.
Can she do some real estate stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I
the thing.
thought about
wondering
Be
reaching
how
out
she
to
careful,
does
her.
it.
but ask her.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her.
You know, I mean, she might be willing, I don't know. I need to get
Jack's
to know her.
daughter,
Fair enough.
Suzanne, she's trying to get back into it now that she's had her kids and everything, and I did tell her, I was like, we have a huge need for
Mhm.
people that know what they're doing in real estate, so maybe she'll
Sure,
do something with that.
yeah. Hopefully that fixes itself. Supply and demand is supposed to work in Farmington too, so let's see. So, to answer your question, if you check yes, please let us know in advance.
Okay.
We will apply the necessary additional premiums. We will notify them on what they need to provide us. For survey, it's a survey. For M&M coverage, it's simply, we just need to have the seller sign the affidavit. They pay an additional $25. The rest of the stuff really just, it isn't, we can remove the standard exceptions for no charge if certain criteria is met. You know, if they're buying as an LLC, we don't have to worry about parties in possession or squatters or anything like that, other parties, because the LLC is known to be an artificial entity that's self-contained. That's why we're so big on marital status, you know. We need to know more than just he's married. We need to know everything about her, we need to know her full legal name, do you want her on title, do you not want her on title? If you're divorced and recently unmarried, we need to review the divorce docs to make sure that he doesn't owe any money, you know, on, for example, on the sale, you know. We have had issues where the spouse does not sign the necessary documentation to give the person that the house that they got outright. We end up going back to the divorce docs and finding out that the judge ordered that the house be sold and the proceeds split. So now we've got one person absent from the purchase agreement. One side of the divorce didn't even approve the sales price. Now you as a realtor have to be like, where is she? I don't know. We haven't talked. She ran off some dude in Florida she met on the internet. Oh.
Question.
Then problems compound,
I
right?
have a
Sure.
client that's going through a divorce. They own this property. It's on 2 parcels. I've talked to you about this before.
I talked to her yesterday.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Yes, so Katie,
Katie,
Yeah.
we'll call her Kay.
okay.
To
So
protect-
there's 2
protect
parcels,
innocent.
okay? It was a weird deal. Anyways, there's a mortgage on this parcel, and it's a very small mortgage, but I told her, if your ex-husband's getting this parcel, and you're getting this, and the divorce decree says he's assuming this debt, you need to make sure the mortgage company releases, correct? If
That's
I'm
exactly
wrong,
right.
releases this property from this mortgage debt. So is that a you
I
thing?
told her, I said, look,
You need the
I-
document from the.
I
mortgage
researched it
company.
yesterday, I said the mortgage attaches to your property.
Yeah,
And there's not a court order in the world that'll make a lender say, oh, well,
I'll release it.
I'll release it then. Courts can't make lenders release their liens, except by direct action towards the lender for something that they did wrong.
Okay,
So I told her, I said, look, somebody needs to contact the lender and see if the property he has the value to secure the loan balance by itself, then request that they do an analysis,
or
probably a
refinance
reappraisal.
maybe.
Well, refinance would take care of everything.
Yeah,
But in the absence of a full payoff, you're gonna need to at least get a partial from a lender saying that your land is no longer encumbered by this mortgage lien,
yeah,
so.
that's what I told her.
And she's like, yep, I knew it. And she's like, thanks, and she was really sweet.
Yeah,
But she's
She's
lighting up
frustrated.
people, she's lighting up people on the phone right now, I can give it
yeah,
to you,
I know.
There are some boxes that if they check yes, it won't hold up closing, won't cause any issues, and it may provide some ancillary coverage from this or that, but, and there's also there's a very good explanation page where you don't need to refer them to us or to legal. Start by saying, well, right behind that, your form has a full explanation of each of the paragraphs in the notice to purchaser. Please read through that thoroughly, and then if you still have questions on which way to go, then we can get involved.
And that's attached with the.
It should come with every
It
commitment
does,
package.
it
Okay, cool, that's not.
Yeah.
Tammy, your deal that you had with the lien, with the tax lien, do you remember your, on Zia Street? So there was a tax lien that the title company didn't know about, there was like taxes owed. If they would have marked the box lien coverage, do you want this coverage? Yes. Would that have cost them a whole bunch of more money? Like there was,
I would
the
have to
husband died,
I'd have to reacquaint myself. So there's, no, that's okay. So that's standard exception 4,
yeah,
and that relates directly to mechanics and materials liens.
okay.
If it's if we don't require that a tax lien be paid off, and there was a tax lien of record, that's on us.
Yeah, they didn't know that
No.
like, you guys didn't
Yeah,
know
like I
about
said,
this
they
one
didn't
tax
run
lien.
into the-
Which one?
So.
Is this about a notice of covenant violation that they said was a lien?
No, it was an actual tax lien.
State or federal?
federal.
A federal tax lien against our seller.
So what happened is she had her own tax liens, there was 5. And then when we called, cause Debbie said the seller has to do it, and she's elderly, so we're helping her. We found out there was another tax lien from the husband, cause they filed jointly, but because it was under his social and his name, they didn't put a lien on the house for his tax lien.
Okay.
So when they gave us the payoff, it included their tax lien, cause they
So there
filed
was-
jointly, and her 5.
Yeah, there was 5 that we thought, then there came out to be 6.
Okay, so the payoff was the first time that we ever, I'm assuming that when we received the payoff and it was higher than maybe
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
expected, when we fired back and said, what's this amount? They said, well, we tacked on this
Yes.
one.
Pretty
Yes.
much, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's what Debbie said, they've never ran into that where,
that does sound rare.
yeah, so.
And then, of course, that would force us to go back and take a second look at, does it attach, at least pursuant to our rules? And what our interpretation of what attaches and what doesn't. We would have to look at the chain. Did she buy it and then get married to him and then it attaches? So he got the lien while they owned the property?
So the lien was
How
back
is it
in
that-
2013, and then
And
he
it was a different
died.
state, wasn't it?
Ah,
The
so
lien
he
happened
passed.
after they sold and he already died.
Yeah, the lien was before he passed, but because they filed jointly, and then she sold their house in Colorado, came to New Mexico and bought this house, they only attached her personal liens, but not his.
Right, because upon death, she becomes an unmarried woman. She can hold title to property.
And Debbie's like, because the federal government gave us the total amount, we have to have that paid.
Or we tell you that if you wish to seek legal counsel and push back, the IRS works for us. I know it seems like a silly statement, but they are paid for and work for us. So if they do something that you think is incorrect, there's an appeal process. You can have your human legal guy talk to, hopefully, their human person.
And we
And
expressed
please,
that to her, and she was like, it's gonna take too long. for she-
well, and she's being realistic. She's not saying, when we get a payoff, we pay off that amount. Unless you guys put the brakes on and say, I'll stop. We are not closing until we resolve this matter of the payoff being too high because they tacked on a bill that we don't think should be. And Debbie said, we don't run into this very often. She probably was reserved in her own personal opinion as to whether it should or shouldn't, because we're really not, that kind of goes outside of the scope of our
And
expertise.
that's exactly.
Now we're talking about tax law.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about tax law as it pertains to real estate. I would love to know if they did push back. I would love to know if the IRS would
Drop it.
look at it and say, oh, you're right. A
That
wife,
would be
a wife
nice.
doesn't carry the burden of her husband's estate after passing. She needs to move on with her life. The estate becomes the taxable entity. So whatever, if the estate didn't have any funds to pay the tax lien, then what?
Too bad.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they have the ability to say, well, the estate didn't have enough, we tack it onto the spouse, but that would require them to file a new lien in her name that we would have picked up. And then it would have matched 6 for 6,
And they
right?
didn't file a new lien.
No,
did
they did not.
No, and it was showing up on the Colorado side, all the ones that we found were on New Mexico side, is what the lady told me on the
It's
IRS.
interesting. So where are we at with that now?
They've
It's
closed.
closed.
She had
We
paid that extra
barely got
lien.
it closed.
She
She had
paid
to
it.
come to the table with money.
Yes,
Yeah.
in order to close it.
Yeah.
How much was that lien?
I, honestly, I mean, it's not our place.
200,000.
The lien was?
All the
His?
liens combined, yeah.
Oh, all combined?
Yes.
What was his portion?
It was just his though.
His
30? Oh,
80,000.
80?
Oh, so it would have been worth getting an
Worth
attorney.
fighting
like
for.
that.
And you know what? It's probably none of our place to say, but if she was savvy, she should probably approach a tax attorney and say, I I wanna fight this, she can fight it still.
Yeah.
Because the IRS, they're famous for saying, look, if you got a beef, fine, pay it, and then fight us.
Okay.
Pay it, then appeal. We say you owe this, by this deadline, interest and penalty will start no matter what kind of case you're building. You pay it, and then you build your case and you make your argument. And then they go back and they say, all right, well, they paid on time. They make a pretty good argument here. I don't know why we should
Not give it back,
hit the widow
yeah.
That's
for the debt of the ex-deceased husband,
Right.
just because the estate didn't have enough to, whatever.
Yeah.
They might relook at it and say, here you go.
So is it typical to, like, when we went, before we listed it, she told us about the liens, and I wanted to make sure there was gonna be enough money before we even listed it.
Yeah,
I called title to see, and they said, no, we won't, research for tax liens until it's under contract. Is that typical for you guys? Debbie told me from here on out, you just call me and I'll take care of it.
Okay.
So I went to the county and I learned how to research for
We're-
tax liens.
Oh, teach us.
yeah, good, no, that's the right response from Debbie. Just because on the front lines, if I gave them the authority to just say to anyone, regardless of who it was, oh, you're thinking about selling your house and you need some stuff from us?
No, and because we just.
Because we don't want, obviously, we're not gonna charge you to help you do your job. If you're gathering data and we have access to the data, we wanna share that with you.
Okay.
But on the front end, let's put it this way, we're lucky up here because we don't have the outside influence of the big city that's going on. A lot of stuff going on in the big city is actually out of bounds for our title regulations. But they're doing it in the interest of competition. They're doing it because, like, for example, TBD commitments. A lot of realtors in other areas, larger markets, are pressuring the title companies to do commitments before they even have a listing on the property.
They do that a lot in Durango too.
Do they?
Mhm.
So that's a normal thing. So it kind of goes along the lines of what you're saying. We're if you have a special request, if you're like, hey,
Yeah, it's
Can
once
we-
in a blue moon.
can I get a copy of these 5 liens? Like, you already know about them. We don't have to go find them. They're just like, there's 5 liens on this
She just
property.
didn't know the amount of them.
Right,
She
of
knew
course.
there was 5 and then she had dementia.
Oh,
You
of
know,
course.
just a whole lot of.
No, that means that things are working right. If the front desk is saying, we'll get you the data you need when you get us an order, like a commitment or bring us a contract, because we don't want to be spinning our wheels,
It's
and,
a waste of.
yeah, because we have bona
That's
fide
what-
orders that are gonna now wait in line while we provide information to someone who may or may not even decide to list their house.
Right.
So we're trying really hard to distinguish between the producing clients and, John Doe off the street that just wants to know the history of his property. If we can't decipher what those orders are or have some barrier to get a commitment, then we lose track of how to prioritize our clients. So that's a good question now.
But we
Yeah,
wanted, before listing, we wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we did all that and still found
And then, like,
another lien.
Just 5 days before closing.
Yeah, literally,
Ugh.
literally.
Right.
And cause we were literally on the phone, cause we had to go to her, put it on speakerphone, she gave them permission to talk to us, cause we're right there with her, trying to get the lien for 3 weeks, we were on the phone.
We were on the phone for a whole month.
And then I learned from the CPAs, like, just have them call you back, they'll give you a time frame, and then luckily my seller lived behind me, and then we go over there. Yeah,
If
it
you're
was a
running-
process.
As an overall answer to that question and many more, if y'all are running into any speed bumps, challenges, or obstacles in getting what you feel is some very basic information that you need to make progress, don't hesitate to email josh@sanjuantitle.com. Because I'll be that overseer. I'll be the guy I'll just do it right now.
He will. He
You
will
know,
too.
so please don't hesitate to get me involved, especially if you guys feel like you're getting stonewalled or set aside or backburnered or any number of one of those cliches. get me involved, because I want all of you all to feel as important as everyone else in this business, because we don't play favorites and we don't choose sides.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're all listening.
I have a question on septics.
Ooh,
So,
it's kind of a shitty subject.
Put on phone.
so I had a buyer that did not wanted to waive all inspections, including the septic. And,
Was it cash?
yes. So what is the norm for you guys, or what do you guys feel more comfortable, cause,
Okay, so this would,
For cash, you can.
I would bounce this back to y'all and say this is not a title issue.
okay, so it's.
If it's not required in the contract,
It's
policy.
not,
There's nothing to do with you guys.
title related.
Wouldn't that be a
Y'all-
state engineer's question?
Cause as Debbie told, we're not the EPA police.
Right.
Correct. The, there are certain things that if the septic permit is not acquired, that it could make that new buyer's ability to, to replace the septic or to get it serviced. If they waive all customs and requirements at transfer regarding the septic, it could create a problem for the buyer. And what you don't want to have happen is for the buyer to suffer loss or damage. The title company's not covering it because it has nothing to do with title at all. Alright, this is like the quality of the concrete in the driveway or the age of the water heater. That's y'all stuff. So, I guess my caution for you guys would be to get somewhat familiar with what is required by the state with regards to septic. And in the event that a buyer and seller decide to forego that, maybe understand and be able to relay to those people, say, look, I'm sending this to you in an email because I will refer to it if you come back and you blame me for any problems. Here are, and you guys might actually get together as a firm and create a boilerplate response,
That's what I was.
or even a form itself. You guys have so many forms you have signed. What's one more, right? Like a septic waiver acknowledgement,
We have
and
some.
put in there that says, look, we cannot guarantee that you're not gonna have problems down the line because you didn't do something now. Because, like, for example, if you need the seller to sign something, and 2 years have gone by since you've waived septic, and now you gotta track the seller down to figure out, when was it put in? Or what size is it? Was it permitted? Who did you use? So I think at the very minimum, I think you should gather as much information. If you're listing a property with septic, gather as much information at that initial listing stage. Even if you don't end up doing anything with it, you can at least provide it to the buyer and say, here's some information I gathered. I know you guys are waiving it, but this may come in handy later. But there is a state jurisdiction that I believe governs and oversees something as important as wastewater and ground.
Yeah, I thought it was required on the septic addendum that it states that the environmental department requires an inspection.
That's prior to transfer
Within
of
one
property.
year.
So maybe it doesn't matter if it's cash.
Yeah,
Whether
I
you have a
think
lender or
it
not.
has
Yes.
to be done according to the
Well, then
state
that-
department.
Right.
Yeah.
I would brush up and review your responsibilities as a realtor.
I'm
as a
looking right
Okay,
now.
yeah, I was gonna say, I know, I think
Well,
that's
yeah,
on the
they
septic
follow all
addendum,
rules
if
and
I'm not mistaken, the
regulations, and
verbiage,
that's
isn't
part
it?
of
It is.
the
I'm
Government rules and regulations, and they can come after our license
Good.
because we're not.
Those are all good questions. And just in wrapping up the commitment part, you have exceptions, and you could go over that with your client. You can ask them, if they have questions, get them the copies of the documents, and have them reach out to us by email if they have any questions. Then, beyond that, once that objection period for the matters in the commitment have expired, you're on your way. There's really, technically, they really can't go back. They can't sabotage the closing at the closing table for something in the commitment, because that objection period that window is open and closed.
Yeah.
So, you might go and read through some horror stories of some realtors who've had trouble with that before and see if you can avoid it. But ultimately, the important thing is stress the importance of the commitment and make sure they got it and encourage them to read it and respond if any, you know, especially as it pertains to the notice to purchaser, please get that back before closing. I mean, those three simple requests of your client, you know, your client does have some responsibilities. They have a lot of responsibilities in this. You can't do it all. And you certainly don't want to be reviewing somebody's commitment for them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you should never take over their oversight and their scrutiny of the commitment context, so.
Even the covenants.
Oh, especially the
Just
covenant.
give it to them
It's
and
so
be like,
complicated.
Don't render an opinion unless you know for a fact
yeah.
that your opinion is 100% correct. And that it's not gonna come back to bite you, you know? Again, it just goes back to being knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But you should also be knowledgeable on what you're not knowledgeable about.
Stay in our lane.
What'd you say, stay in your
Stay in
lane?
our lane.
Yeah, I'm sure
know a
that's.
guy, you know a guy.
Yeah.
I know the guy. I know
There you
him.
go. So thank you guys for the opportunity
you
to come
so
and meet with
much.
y'all. I know we ran a little long, but that was all good substance.
Thank
Good.
you so much.
What do you
Good
mean? We
content.
still got time.
What is it?
We still got some time.
Do we really?
I guess we keep meeting for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
But
Let's
real
play
quick,
these people.
real quick, can you go over the differences, general warranty deed versus special warranty deed?
Sure.
And why? Because in this area, I see most people just randomly check general warranty deed, which in my opinion doesn't protect the seller as much
Yeah.
as a special warranty deed
But
would.
the title insurance does provide protections for the seller. In fact, that's why the seller pays for it. They're paying it forward. They're basically saying, I'm giving my word by signing this. They're backing it. Okay? So the seller does have certain protections. It doesn't mean they can't be sued alongside us for violation of warranty covenant. But the special warranty deed, basically, it shortens the amount of time in which the seller feels comfortable. Okay? Like, let's say, for example, the seller bought the property on a repo. You know, they bought it from the Carrington Mortgage Solutions or whatever. And maybe they don't feel comfortable signing a warranty deed because they really don't know what transpired in the days, months, and years prior to this unfortunate act of foreclosure. So the special warranty deed would basically just limit the liability of the seller to only the period in which they owned it. That historically, that would have been a bigger deal for a lot of people had we not been there to issue title policy of insurance. And so I think the general warranty deed is used in most cases simply because the seller is aware that we're backing their play. Does that make sense? We use special warranty deeds a lot also when we're doing transfers of property that have maybe recently changed legal descriptions, replats of subdivisions. Special warranty deeds are used basically just to say, look, we're doing this warranty deed. It's not really a bona fide transfer, like an arm's length transfer. It's a special warranty deed. And since we're not really conveying the property to somebody we just met the other day, if they're moving it from themselves into a trust, a special warranty deed is probably the tool I would recommend. If they're moving it from one LLC to another, if you know, things like that. In the greater scheme of things though, whether it's a special warranty deed or a general warranty deed, there is a certain level of assurance being made by the grantor that they didn't do anything that they should disclose with regards to the title of the property. They're providing assurances and guarantees that they'll back that signature. But the title policy typically does that as well. So
Is there a difference in price?
no, it just boils down to probably like to contract law.
Right.
And the original definition of what a warranty deed does versus a special warranty deed, which is very simply stated. General warranty deed goes back into time, you're guaranteeing that the previous owners who provided you with a warranty deed It's sort of that carrying forward, it's a promise paid forward, right? Whereas a special warranty deed is just like, look, I'm only comfortable promising that I didn't do anything wrong. But don't worry about it, 'cause title policies, they went back to patent, and they let you know all the things.
Oh, that's the case either way. That's
Yeah,
what you're saying.
either way.
Got it.
We don't shorten our search window based on a special versus a general, so. And our coverage isn't limited either, so.
And like 99.5% go through general warranty deed, don't you think?
Yeah,
Okay, from what you're seeing on your end.
yeah, unless you're dealing with HUD or a mortgage company that repoed the property in foreclosure, they don't wanna put them, and you're talking about deep pockets too. You're talking about really deep pockets. And the precedent that they might set by giving a general warranty deed on this one and not this one, they have a hard and fast rule that, like for example, City of Albuquerque Public Schools, City of Albuquerque, they'll only do quick claims. They won't even warranty what happened when they owned it.
Wow.
So it's like,
interesting.
this is whatever we've got, we'll give you, but we're not insuring anything.
Yeah.
And so when we see that, obviously, we're doing the best job we can regardless of the type of deed. But yeah, there's protections there that in the event that City of Albuquerque should have disclosed something and they didn't, well, you can try to take it to court, they're like, well, we didn't warranty anything. Go talk to the title company, they policied it, that sort of thing. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank
Well,
you.
my pleasure. I'll be ready for your calls and emails, and I'll talk to Debbie when I get back there about that.
Hey, Josh, I actually.
Thank you.
I
I did.
Thank you.